Alright, let's graph linear equations from standard form. So, essential question, how do I graph linear equations in standard form? Well, first off, standard form looks like this right here. We have ax, so some number x, plus some number y, equals some other number. Okay, and then, of course, this can be minus by, because if the b is negative, it's a subtraction sign. But essentially, it's ax plus by equals c. So x and y are on the same side. So linear equations that are in standard form can be graphed by converting to slope-intercept form. So remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So if I convert to y equals, I'm solving for y, I can just do the y-intercept and slope to get 2 points and plot that way. Okay, so that's probably the easiest way to do these. There are other ways. So to do that, I'm going to solve for y by first moving x to the other side of the equation. And then we'll do this in a minute. So I move x to the other side, and I divide by the coefficient of y and simplify. So move the x, divide by the y, and then I can graph my equation. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So graph the linear equations below. So notice I have x and y on the same side and equals some number. So I want to solve for y. So I have two steps. I move x and divide by the coefficient of y. So the first thing, move x, so this 3x is going to move all the way over here. So if it's positive, when I move it, it becomes negative. Okay, now the order doesn't really matter. Some people like to always put x first. I don't see the point. There's really no need for it, as long as you can differentiate between the slope and the y-intercept when we finish. So we'll see that in a second. So first I move x to the other side. Okay. Now I'm going to rewrite my equation. So I have 2y equals 6. So notice how this part of my equation did not change. Okay. All I'm doing is I cut off the front, so I cut off the x. I write the y equals the number, and then I move the x to the other side. Okay, so I moved x to the other side. Now, I divide by the coefficient of y. So the coefficient of y is 2. I divide everything by 2. Now, I call it just divide by the y. You're not actually dividing by y, you're dividing by the number in front of y. Okay, so obviously the 2's go away so that I get a y equals, and then you just simplify these divisions right here. So I have 6 over 2 is 3. And then if I do negative 3 divided by 2, I cannot reduce that, so it just stays negative 3 divided by 2x. And it's important that you do not forget the x at the end, because now I can look at my equation and I can determine the y-intercept and the slope. Okay, so from here, you're going to have your y-intercept is your b, which is always the number with no x. So again, that's why I said the order doesn't matter, as long as you remember the number by itself is b. So this b is 0, 3. And then the slope is always the number with x. So here's your m right here. So m is negative 3 over 2. And now we can graph, because if we've already learned how to graph from slope-intercept form, then we can already do this right here. So really the only new part, or the only different thing about standard form, is I have to convert it and solve for y. So 2 steps, and I have y equals mx plus b, right? Even though the order is switched, it doesn't matter. So I do the same thing. So y-intercept, I start on the y-axis, and I go to 3 and I put a point. Okay, my slope is negative. Remember, negative is down, so I'm going to go down 3, right 2 from this point. So I go down 3, right 2, put a point. So down 3, right 2 if you want to label. Now you don't have to write the arrows and label every time for graphing, because once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy. Alright, so from here, you just connect the points. Like, it's pretty easy from here. I have 2 points, I connect those. Put my arrows on the end, because lines go forever in both directions, which you'll learn about in geometry. And that's it. I have graphed my line from standard form. Okay, so it's almost the same thing as from slope intercept, but we're starting, like, it looks different from the start. So we convert, and then we're good to go. So let's do the next one, number 2. So I'm going to do the same thing. I have x and y on the same side, so I want to solve for y, right? So I take the x and I move it to the other side. So positive x, or x, becomes minus x. And I'm going to rewrite, again, I rewrite all of this and just throw the x on the end. So negative 3y equals 15 minus x. And now I divide by the y, well, the coefficient. So divide by negative 3. Okay, so by doing that, we get y equals, which is what we want. And then we simplify. 15 divided by negative 3, negative 5. And negative x divided by negative 3. And this is where a lot of people get confused or make mistakes. So remember, if there's no number in front of x, we actually have a 1. So it's negative 1 divided by negative 3. Well, we know 2 negatives make a positive. And 1 divided by 3, I cannot simplify or reduce. So I just leave it as 1 over 3 and then put the x off to the side. Okay, and now I have my slope-intercept equation. So y-intercept is b, which is the number with no x. So we have 0, negative 5. And then our slope is m, the number in front of x. So 1 over 3. So now that we have y-intercept and slope, we can graph. So I start with b, or begin with b. So on the y-axis, I go down to negative 5 and put a point. And now I use my slope. So because my slope is positive, I'm going to go up 1 and then right 3 from this point. So I'm going to go up 1, whoa, and then right 1, 2, 3, and put a point. And I can keep going. Like I can do 1, 1, 2, 3, put a point. Okay. So again, as many points as you need, but you only really need 2. So once I have those points, I simply connect the dots and I have my line. And I'm done graphing. And that was number 2. Alright, let's do number 3. So again, x, y on the same side. I need to solve for y, so I move x to the other side. It becomes a negative. So I have negative 4y equals negative 12 minus 3x. And I will divide by y, so divide by negative 4. And we do that to get y by itself because we want y equals. And then I simplify. So negative 12 divided by negative 4. 2 negatives make a positive. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 2 negatives make a positive. 3 over 4 we cannot reduce or simplify, so you just leave it. Okay, so we have b is 3, so our y-intercept is 0, 3. And I'm going to go ahead and plot that. So y is 3, and our slope is m, which is right before x, so 3 over 4. And because it's positive, I'm going to go up 3, right 4. And always start from the y-intercept. So I go up 1, 2, 3, right 1, 2, 3, 4, put a point. Okay, now if I ever needed to go backwards, you could. So up and right, if you wanted to, you could go down and left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put another point. So you can get 3 if you like. Your choice. Either way, you can connect the dots. And that's my line. And let's go to the last one. Notice I am going a little faster because the first two went really, really slow. So the more you do these, they should get easier, so you should be faster. Solve for y, so first step, move x. So I have 5y equals 10 minus 2x. And then divide by the y, which is 5. So that gets rid of those 5s. Not really, it just reduces to 1. But, we say cancel out. Same thing. So y equals 10 divided by 5 is 2. Negative 2 over 5, we cannot reduce, so we just leave it negative 2 over 5, x. Okay, so our b is the number with no x, is 2. So y-intercept is 0, 2. So on the y-axis, go to 2, put a point. And then slope is m, which is the number with x. So we have negative 2 over 5. And again, negative goes down, so we're going to go down 2, right 5. So we go down 2, right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can't go any further right because we don't have enough graph. You could go left if you'd like, but not important. What is important is I have my line. Right. And that's how you graph linear equations from standard form.